Asma Hassan is an American-born Muslim in her mid-20s who describes herself as a Muslim feminist cowgirl. She writes about the differences between her generation and her parents in her new book, American Muslims, The New Generation. Her parents are from Pakistan. Asma Hassan grew up in Colorado and studied at Wellesley College and New York University Law School. We called Asma Hassan earlier today at her home in Pueblo, Colorado. Asma Hassan, welcome to Fresh Air.
Thank you, Terry.
Have you, your family, or any of your friends had any trouble since the attacks, trouble stemming from stereotyping?
Well, actually, my uncle lives in L.A., and he owns several 7-Eleven stores. And he said that the day after, on Wednesday, that this man came in and was being very rowdy and sort of knocking things off the counter or off the shelves, and then he finally jumped up on the counter and was asking if they were related to bin Laden and associated with him. And so finally they called the police, and the police came and took care of him. So, but so fortunately we've been lucky, and to be totally honest, I mean, I really haven't been going out very much, so I'm sort of keeping a low profile.
Is that intentional? Is that a result of last week's attacks and the aftermath?
Yes, it is intentional. I just think that, I don't want to go out and, I'm happy to talk on, on this show and other, radio shows, but I don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings or, be, rubbing things in, or, you don't know how your acts would be interpreted. I did go to a church service on Friday because I wanted to show solidarity and support. But in general, I've just been sort of staying home. I am going to go to New York this weekend for an event that was planned ahead of time, and I know that I'll be speaking about my book, and I know that it's been advertised, and I am, a little scared, and I don't want to be naive about it. So I'm considering, hiring some security. The people who are, running the event say, oh, well, we don't expect any trouble. But my feeling is, we didn't really expect any trouble last week, and look what's happened. So, I don't want to be, stupid about these things and put myself in a situation where people who are reasonably upset and angry do unreasonable things.
You said that one of the reasons why you're staying home is that you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I didn't understand what you meant by that.
I don't want to, be in a position like at the grocery store where I hear people complaining about, what happened and that, we should get rid of Muslims. And, and I'll feel obligated because of who I am and the type of person I am to go out to them and say, well, not all Muslims are like this. In fact, the majority of Muslims are not like this. They're not extremists. So, I just saying I don't want to hurt their feelings is a nice way of saying I don't want to get into any kind of trouble. And also maybe they're just not ready to hear that. Maybe everything's just too raw right now.
You consider yourself a feminist. Do you consider it a setback to Islam to have fundamentalist Muslims, and I don't know, a lot of people think fundamentalist isn't exactly the right word, but extremist Muslims who, like the Taliban, really deny women just about all rights and civil liberties? Mm-hmm. Do you consider that as a setback for the Islamic world?
I do in some ways, but, the Taliban is such a rogue government. I mean, it's not really recognized by anybody. It's not having that much influence on the Islamic world, especially not here in the United States. I subscribe to a school of thought that believes that the Quran is a living document and should be updated with the times. Most Arabs belong to a school that has a different view, in fact, a literalist view of the Quran, and that, you don't update it with the times, you follow it strictly, and as you can easily tell, whenever you're a strict interpretationist about something, it does cause a sort of harsh, extreme outcome. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really glad I'm an American Muslim, because being in America, I have the freedom to go to the Quran and interpret it from a fresh perspective. I don't have, years of cultural baggage and patriarchy that is going to force me to do certain things without me meaningfully engaging with the Quran and deciding what do I want to do and what do I think the Quran is asking me to do.
It strikes me that you're in both a very difficult position and a very important position right now. On the one hand, you're afraid that that there is going to be a backlash within America toward Muslims, and you see it as part of your job now to help explain what Islam is, and especially what it means to an American Muslim such as yourself. On the other hand, within the Islamic world, you see yourself as being a kind of modernizing force, a force that wants to bring feminism into Islam. And in that sense, you're kind of breaking with a lot of other Muslims.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a good way to put it. I am sort of caught between two different themes. When I go to events that are mostly attended by non-Muslim Americans, people come up to me, and also people who have read my book have written to me and emailed me and said, I learned so much, and your book, it just answered so many questions for me, everything that I wanted to ask about that I was scared to ask about or embarrassed. It really addressed so many things for me, and I'm just so, amazed that Islam is, a normal religion, and it's not a bunch of, it's not like the stereotypes. It's not a bunch of terrorists and women oppressors, and so they're very excited, at the new knowledge that they've gained. And on the other hand, when I go to events where there are a lot of Muslims, there's always at least a couple very conservative Muslims who, come to me and say, you don't wear the cover, and that's wrong. You should wear the cover. And then they also say, I don't like some of the things you said in your book, and you don't talk about the Quran enough in your book, and you don't talk about the Prophet enough, and, you really need to be more conservative. And, and they're sort of, in a way, I get the feeling that, maybe they're unhappy about me being sort of the, this ambassador, to Americans about Islam. I feel like I'm doing a lot of good, and I think that those people who say that to me, they don't realize how much misinformation there is out there, and how much people don't know. I've grown up as an American Muslim. I've been a Muslim all my life, and I've been American all my life, and I've met so many people who, on planes, on buses, and and they'll say, "You're Muslim?" I mean, they're truly shocked, when they meet me, and they're like, "I don't believe that you're Muslim. You're not really, Muslim." Like I'm faking it or something, So that, that always seemed odd to me. And in my own head, in my own mind, I knew who I was, and that it was okay to be American and Muslim at the same time. And in fact, it made a lot of sense. But you're totally right. Within the Muslim community, I'm a rebel. I'm on sort of the fringe, and within the larger American community, I'm just one of those people who's saying, this is my community. We're nice people. Don't be mean to us, and I want to tell you who I am. So on that end, I look sort of, not rebellious, sort of, if anything, very, much for tolerance and asking for people, to understand me. I don't really seem like a rebel.
Your parents are from Pakistan. What are your concerns about how possible military action will affect Pakistan? I assume that they still have friends or family who are there?
Yes, we do have friends and family that are there, and actually they all have been calling us in the past week to say, how are you? Are you okay? And many of them don't know that I moved from New York. They know that I lived there, but they don't know that I recently moved. So they've been concerned about me, and then almost immediately after we tell them that I'm fine, then we say, are you okay? Is anything going on over there? And and they say, well, we think we're fine. They're brave about it. They realize that they're in a precarious position. They think it's important to support the U.S., and they're shocked at what happened, but at the same time, they don't know how much their government and their country can withstand. They're a poor country, too. So as it is, they've been accommodating refugees from Afghanistan for years, and they're worried about how much they can withstand, and they're also worried about if the people of Pakistan don't support the President Musharraf supporting the United States, they're worried if there might be another, coup or, takeover by another military general who's more sympathetic to the Pakistani people who say, we should not be supporting the U.S. So that's a concern as well.
Well, Asma Hassan, I want to thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you, Terry. I enjoyed being on.
And I wish the best to you and your family. Thank you. Asma Hassan is the author of American Muslims, The New Generation. Our interview was recorded earlier today.